But guys, let's start with Arizona. Let's start with the Wildcats, a team that was unranked coming into the season. Here they are, top 2 or 3 in the entire country. They blow out Utah on the road. The Utah team was actually playing a little bit better. They had swept the Bay Area trip. Sean, how are we feeling about this Arizona team? I think everybody knows they're really good. They're going to be a 1 seed. Are they a team that can actually win 6 in a row in March, though? Do you feel confident that this team can actually get it done in the NCAA tournament?
I think without a doubt, because they have so much depth. They have pros. Benedict Matherin's probably going to be a lottery pick. Azuolas Tubelis will play in the NBA at some point. Maybe Kirk Kriisa does one day, and Christian Koloko definitely will. Dalen Terry probably will. And here's the thing. The question about Arizona is, can Kirk Kriisa be the point guard on a national title winning team? That's been most people's reservations about them. And I think even if he struggles in an NCAA tournament game, you have a guy that you could swap to in Dalen Terry that can run the point if you need him to. He's a lot like Herb Jones in a way last year at Alabama. He's not as much on the offensive end, but he does everything on the defensive end, does all the little things, rebounds the ball. He's not quite to that level, but they're similar in certain ways. I think Arizona's legit top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. They play really fast. They're athletic, good size. They can shoot the ball. I think they do everything you'd want. And they're just blowing out Pac-12 opponents. They're not even making it close most nights. Like going on the road against Utah and just blowing them out isn't easy. They're playing at Colorado tomorrow, which is typically a pretty tough place to play. And I don't think that game will be particularly close either, because Arizona is just blowing everybody out right now.
Yeah, speaking from a little bit of a gambling perspective here, Arizona gets some crazy high spreads for conference play, and they don't have any problem with it. That's
24 against Oregon State, right?
Yeah, and that's how much they outpace expectation very, very consistently. And I love the point about Terry's terrific. I mean, I saw him live and up close for the UCLA game. I've actually seen this Arizona team live a few times this year, and Terry was sensational against UCLA, maybe the best player on the floor, just doing everything. You don't have to score to be the best player on the floor, and he was just that. Greg, how do you feel about this team, especially as Sean is making the point about Kirk Kriisa? That is the concern or the question that gets brought up with this team. Do you think they could survive a bad game from him in March, or do they need Kirk Kriisa to be sharp all 6 times?
So I think they need him to be sharp all 6 times. And I've been a bit of an antagonist to this Arizona basketball team as far as national title contender conversation goes. I think they're great. I think they're clearly the best team in the Pac-12. And I give them a ton of credit for taking care of business. Like I because I'm a skeptic of Kirk Kriisa, I keep waiting for them to slip up on some game on this schedule. And yet their only 2 losses are at UCLA and at Tennessee right now. Who, I mean, you can't blame them for that at all. Look, Kirk Kriisa continues to prove me wrong. Like, he had a triple-double last night. I'm not going to come on here and say Kirk Kriisa can't be the point guard on a national title team. What I think I still lean on the side of doubting him for is that I don't think he can do it 6 consecutive games. I still think he's the type of player that when he has an off night, it's not a quiet off night. It's a loud off night.
That's true.
Nothing he does is quiet. Nothing.
Right. And that's why we love him, right? That's why he's such a fun part of this team and college basketball as a whole. But I just worry that, there are other teams I think you could point to their weak spot. And maybe it's not even fair to call him a weak spot because he's been great for him for the most part of the season. But I see things going wrong individually for Kerr at least once in a 6-game stretch in March. And I think ultimately that's what leads to Arizona's downfall. And that's why I'm out on them as far as being a true title contender.
So I kind of love him. I can't help it. I fell for him here in Vegas. I walked into the T-Mobile Arena and they were playing Wichita State. And I just kind of like my eyes bogged out of my head because of how huge they are. They're just massive. They're a get off the bus team. That's what we call them, a 3-man weave. They climb off the bus and you're just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, they've got dudes. They've got size. And then Kriisa had the swagger going in that event here in Vegas that kind of like won me over fully. I know it's up and down with him. It's an up and down experience, but I think most of the time it's going to be solid. Sean, do you put any credence on the fact that we haven't had a West Coast national title winner, no one from the Pac-12, no one from the WCC, no one from the Mountain West since like 1996, I believe it was the Arizona team. It's been quite a while. Are we putting any stock in that? Or is that kind of just like a conference record on the NCAA tournament sheet? It doesn't matter. It's not something we actually should worry about.
Yeah, I wasn't alive last time a team on the West Coast won a national title. So if that tells you that it's been a while, it's been a while. But At the same time, you look at the Big Ten. They're usually one of the best conferences in college basketball, and they haven't had a national title winner since 2000. So I'm going to say no.
Hey, Sean. What are we
doing? Who was it, Greg? Who won in 2000?
Not Michigan.
Oh, it was the Michigan State Spartans, my friend. Unscripted on the field of 68.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't really put much stock into that because you look at it, Gonzaga's been there a couple times. They very definitely could have won the North Carolina game. That game was close right down to the wire. They got blown out against Baylor. That game wasn't close. But I think this year a team from the West Coast will win the national title because I think Gonzaga and Arizona are the two favorites to do it in my mind, and they're both on the West Coast. So I'll say a team from the West Coast region does it this year.
All right, Greg.
Arizona more than Kentucky. That would be my rebuttal.
I think Arizona is better than Kentucky.
More than Auburn, too.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Auburn. So we talk about Kirk Reesa maybe not being the guy. Well, I don't think Wendell Green's the guy at all. I mean, we've already seen how bad he can hurt them when he's not hitting his shots because he wants that last shot of the game. And more often than not this year, he hasn't made them.
He does. But the counter, sorry, Jim, the counter here would be Auburn, yes, Wendell Green can certainly do a Kirk Reesa and potentially shoot them out of a game if he plays poorly, for sure. But also the ball just needs to find its way to Jabari Smith, right?
But it hasn't, though. Like, how does that fix? Like, we're in almost March, and that doesn't happen enough.
That's fair.
It's kind of the Auburn, it's a strength but a weakness where Bruce Pearl does such a good job of empowering all of his guys. They play with such incredible confidence that they're always like, oh, I got this. I'm the guy. Here I go. But Greg, so Kriisa, like, he's great, but is that the guy we want with the ball in his hands at the end of the game? Or should it be Benedict Matherin's ball? You go get the shot. He's not really been a go get his own type of guy this season, but late in the game, they haven't had a lot of these close games. It's part of the symptom of blowing everybody out. They haven't had too much test late in the game like that. Do you think it's more Matherin's show, or do you think Kriisa is the guy we trust?
You know, I'm starting to think it kind of has to be Kriisa, as crazy as that sounds. All year I've been saying that it's Mathurin. It's Mathurin. He's the guy. He's their lottery pick. And ultimately, I was afraid for Arizona's hopes in March that the ball wouldn't find its way to him. But the more that I watch Kirk Kriisa on his good nights, the more I begin to think he is the most dynamic guy on this roster. And look, it's not a problem that they have both of them, especially in the state of college basketball right now, where most teams don't have one guy as dynamic as either Kirk Kriisa or Ben Mathurin can be. But that said, I do think there's still a little just internal questioning for them to figure out here. Like, I don't know that Arizona would tell you they want the ball in Kirk Kriisa's hands. I know that Kirk Kriisa would tell you he wants the ball in Kirk Kriisa's hands. And I think that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch play out in real time in the midst of a one possession game in the Sweet 16 against some team that maybe has a clearer understanding of their offensive and defensive identity.
Yeah. Sean, you said Arizona, Gonzaga. That's where you think the two favorites are. What happens if those teams run into each other in the semifinals of the national final? They are kind of mirror images of each other, built the same way. They're like top 2 or 3 in the country in average possession length. They're great 2-point percentage offense, 2-point percentage defense. Their front courts mirror each other in a lot of ways. How do you see that playing out with the teacher versus student relationship in the coaching situation?
See, that's tough because I think Gonzaga wins the national championship. But like when I think about that matchup together, like I think like personnel wise, I think Arizona might win that game. Like just because of what they have a lot of size and athleticism. They can run with Gonzaga. Most teams can't run with Gonzaga, but Arizona can. I don't know. I think Arizona might win that game.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a toss-up to have those going. And man, the fuel, Greg, for the Gonzaga haters, if Mark Few lost to his assistant Arizona in a national title game, I don't think we'd ever hear the end of it. Yeah.
No, never. I mean, look, Tommy Lloyd deserves consideration for Coach of the Year this season. What he's done is remarkable. I honestly, and Sean's going to laugh at me for saying this because I've antagonized Gonzaga fans from time to time, especially
since I've known Greg. I've known Greg for almost 2 years. That's been like the Greg Waddell staple. Like he just goes at Gonzaga.
Last year it became a thing because Gonzaga fans were sort of going at Michigan fans, and both teams were top 3 teams, and then it was a Big Ten versus West Coast Conference.
That's fair. Yeah,
you get it, but. I would honestly feel bad for Gonzaga fans if they were to catch Tommy Lloyd in the tournament and lose with a generational talent like Chet Holmgren and the way Nembhard and Timmy are playing. But I think Gonzaga is the best team in the country. I think we all.
I do too. Yeah, that matchup just on paper, like I don't know what way I would pick it. Like good luck on the best bet show going with that one because like I have no idea what I would say there. I think Arizona.